Christian Rocca said his relationship with the police, its commissioner and the officers involved in Operation Delhi was a good one. He spoke highly of the officers involved. He said he'd expressed a preference for a less intrusive production order rather than a search warrant. But he said the police was free to proceed however they saw fit. The Director of Public Prosecutions said he had described Mr. Levy's conduct to police at an early stage as sharp business practice and not criminal. But Mr. Rocca said he later believed Mr. Levy was a person of interest, and it was understandable for the RGP to consider him a suspect. He said the decision to proceed with a search warrant was defendable.
At that stage, it certainly looked as though people trying to take people's business, which happens all the time in the world of business, I suspect. That was our view at that stage. It's not for me to approve how they treat him. So it wasn't with my approval. They asked, I think, for some comfort that I would not, in the public interest, be pulling this. And therefore, are you happy we treat him as a suspect? Yes, I'm happy with that. How they treat him is a matter for them. It was not for my approval. I wouldn't approve operational matters, Mr. Chairman. Those are matters independently for the police to deal with as they see fit. So I think approval was the wrong word. But yes, they asked my views and I agreed with that.
Did you tell the Attorney General that you strongly advised against a search warrant?
No, my evidence is as per my affidavit.
Mr. Rocca said he had never provided any information on operational matters to the Chief Minister, and that Fabian Picardo has never sought to contact him about any criminal investigation. Mr. Rocca said he felt shocked and betrayed when he learned Mr. McGrail had secretly recorded meetings with people in the room. He said he wasn't in Mr. McGrail's mind, but believed a secret recording could never be justified.
I remember I was quite shocked. And I think betrayed, because I think it was a breach of trust for anybody to record meetings in secret, but particularly at such a high-ranking level when there is a degree of trust. So I did feel quite shocked by it, actually, yes.
Mr. Rocca told the inquiry the manner of the execution of the warrant was a bit unorthodox, and that this was part of the problem. He said it was odd to obtain a warrant, then negotiate the warrant with the suspect, then leave the suspect for 9 hours. The matter came up again when Mr. Rocca was questioned by the police's lawyer, Nick Cruz.
My view is that if you've got a warrant, you execute it. You then don't turn up and negotiate that warrant. If you've got a warrant because you believe someone is going to dispose of evidence, you execute that warrant on the premises, however difficult that might be. And that, in part, was one of the difficulties. Now, I recognise that Mr. Richardson was aware of the political sensitivities of who it was. But with respect, that should not have played part of the process, because that's caused half the problem, because then you're in the grounds of interorum, consent, non-consent. Does the warrant lapse after a month? Does it not lapse after a month? And that is, I think, what starts kicking everything off with respect, because it's that letter that comes from Luis Baglietto complaining about the warrant to the Attorney General that leads to the meetings, hence the discussions at the meetings. How do we deal with this?
Mr. Rocca said he's never been a mouthpiece for anyone. He said the Attorney General was a well-regarded and respected silk and, to his knowledge, hadn't attempted to influence the police's operational matters.
Were you cajoling or pressurising the police?
No.
And therefore was the attorney?
Not at those meetings that I was present, no.
Did the RGP freely participate in the conversation?
But the transcripts speak for themselves.
Did they freely agree to what emerged by way of a consensus?
They could have perfectly left those meetings and done whatever they'd wanted to, and neither I or the Attorney General would have had any power to stop that happening.
Yes, so they freely agreed and could have said, no, we're going to do what we please.
And I wouldn't have taken issue with it. I'm sure the Attorney General wouldn't have either.
The inquiry now takes a break from the public sessions, and its lawyers will have a few reading days. It'll return on Thursday to hear evidence from the Attorney General, Michael Llamas KC.